Thanks for tuning into the latest episode of Words with Michelle, the podcast. This episode was inspired by a post that I saw on Facebook about a few months ago. So, Jonathan Shaw posted that he's returned to Flow 98.7. So, as you know, Jonathan worked at Flow about 25 years ago. So, I was really curious to see why he went back. So, I sent him a DM. And he thankfully said yes, that he wanted to talk about it. So, in today's episode, we talk about why Jonathan Shaw decided to go back to flow. So, to start the show, I asked Jonathan to introduce himself. Thank you for being on the show, Jonathan. It's good to have you back on the show.
Thank you.
So, to start the show, I always ask everyone to give a brief bio, and yes, they know who you are because I've had you on before. But if you just give us a brief bio of or introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay. My official government name is Jonathan Oliver Chambers Shaw, the first of many to come. Professionally known as the Juice Man, Jonathan Shaw. I'm a creative director, voice actor, DJ, host on Flow, and image voice for Jazz FM 91. And what else do I do? Voice of Gatorade, voice of Boswell Cheese. But the greatest title I have is I'm a daddy. I got three wonderful children, and that's about it.
I like that
Oh,
you added that at the end because I
mm,
remember my very first interview with you, which is way back when. I swear to God, it was maybe in 2015. We talked about your kids. So I'm happy you said that, your favorite role at the end is your dad, that you're a dad. So that's
mhm.
beautiful. Okay, beautiful. So today I wanted to, one of the reasons why I reached out to you is I wanted to do like an update. We've had so many different interviews in the past.
Mhm.
And now, as of a couple months ago, I saw that you returned to flow. And I wanted to ask you, how did you decide to go back to flow? What was going on?
It wasn't. It was one of those. I can't say it was one of those things where it's like you're going back to something. It was one of those things where in radio, for example, if you work at a radio station, by the time your career will go full circle. You'll start somewhere, you'll keep going to different radio stations, different TV stations, and you'll probably end up back where you started. That's just the way the world works because the average career for every radio announcer is usually 2.5 years at a particular place. If you see somebody at a station longer than 2.5 years, they're either doing something well or they haven't got picked up by somebody else yet. And depending on what you do in life, the flow conversation happened about a year ago, a year previous to me going back, a year and a half, where I got a call from the station manager, and he was like, "We're we're thinking of you to do a talk show. Would you be interested in coming back?" At that time, I was working full time at Element FM, and I was like, "No." Because I was doing full time. I was working full time. I was quite happy where I was. And if you're going to offer me full time employment and do things behind the scenes or whatever the case may be, yeah, I would have probably went back at the time. I mean, if dollars and cents,
Hmm.
whatever. I always say this to everybody. I said, look, if you want me to do something, just bring your armored vehicle, back it up, and we'll talk. You know what I mean? That type of thing.
I like
No, I
that.
mean, but it's not necessarily about the money. I always just say it's usually sometimes for me, the money doesn't dictate how I move forward. It's always about the opportunity. It's always about, is this a good fit for me? Is this the trajectory I want to go in my life? You know, removing things in life that no longer serve you is a big thing for me. That's been my saying for 2025 and 2026. On my ways, I have Karamo's voice in my ears that say, it's time to release things that no longer serve you. And I've adopted that principle just in life. You got to get rid of certain things that no longer serve you in life. If you're doing something and you're not being motivated by it anymore, you got to let it go. Doesn't matter what it is. But for me, the conversation about returning to flow was more of a, here's an opportunity to do talk radio. I had not done talk radio in that capacity since leaving CHY 105.5 like a whole quarter century ago. And here was an opportunity to do certain things. I'd seen a million and one podcasts. I'd been on podcasts for like the last 25 years. I saw what they do good. I saw what they don't do. I found a lot of podcasts kind of only deal with certain subjects. And I'd written down over the last couple of years I said, if I ever got the opportunity to do this again, here's what I want to talk about. And that's all I'm doing right now. It's just taking the 2 hours on Flow where I'm not DJing, I'm not playing, I'm not, announcing music coming in and out. We're basically dealing with subjects that affect the Black Canadian, Caribbean, and African diasporas. And the month of March, because it is International Women's History Month, I had to make sure I got the title correct.
Mm.
We've just been dealing with women's issues. On Sunday, we had 4 women on, uh, 2 talking about sheroes and things that they do, and also what the next generation of women is going to look like as far as education. What do we need to do as parents to equip Black women doing their thing? The week before, we talked about SADS and breast cancer.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was that topic was rough. Like I started tearing up at the end. I was like, okay, mic off, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
we fade to black. Like we had Carlene Nation
Oh, yes.
on Sunday. She's one of my sheroes,
Mm.
and we didn't even get a chance to talk about the fact is that she had 2 brain tumors.
My God.
She survived 2 brain. We didn't even talk about that. We didn't even talk about any of that sort of stuff. So
Wow.
I asked her one question, and she talked for 16 minutes just about the one thing, and I was like, okay. And for an interviewer, that's the greatest. You can just sit back and just be like, okay, I'm good.
I like that. I think you were like that too, though. The first time we interviewed,
Mhm.
not the very first time, but one of the last yeah, it was the last interview we ever had. It was 3 hours, by the way.
Yeah, I
I'll
know.
never forget that.
Sorry, I'm
It
sorry. I'm sorry.
it was so
I'm
I'm
sorry.
like when you say someone could talk, I'm like Jonathan Shaw. But I'm like you were
I'm sorry. I'm
no, but
sorry.
you know what? Within that those 3 hours, there was a lot of gems. There's a lot of things I took from it, right? And
Mhm.
just to let everyone know, you were one of the 21 change makers in my book. So obviously there are a lot of things that you said
Where is by
resonated.
Michelle? Beautiful book.
I thank you for being a part of it. Like, thank you for what you said. Actually, I really love the quote that I took from it. So, I mean, I finally get to say thank you, like, personally, like via Zoom. So, thank you so much. And so, it was a pleasure, including that. But, so how does it feel? Just getting back to flow. And the reason why I had to start off with that because, flow has been a part of my life since for the past 20, 30 years or so. So,
25 years this year.
25
20, 20,
years.
25 years this year.
So I'm like, so that's why I had to start off. I was really excited about asking you that. So then how does it feel being back at Flow? How does it feel?
It's different. It's not. Radio has changed a lot in 25 years. And now I'm on Sunday. So when I started at Flow, call it 25 years ago, the original Flow 93.5, we were at 211 Young Street on the 4th floor, looking basically at the Eaton Center. So it was going downtown. It was being on Young Street. It was new. Everybody was listening to it. Everybody had their own opinions, good, bad, and indifferent of what it was going to be. The nervousness, being, commercial rookies, regardless of where we came from. We were all rookies to commercial radio. The majority of us were anyway. And starting that sort of vibe, and then I left that in 2004 and did a bunch of radio stations since then, and kind of horizontally expanded my brand and the things that I do. And now to be back there 25 years later as Flow 98.7, it's different because now I can have fun in a different way. Whereas before it was, you're learning how radio works, you're learning how to do different things, you're learning how to deal with the public. Now it's like, I know how to move in a space. So I always equate everything to football. So when you're playing defense in football,
I hope I can follow this. I'm just
when you're playing
kidding.
defense in football, if you are a rookie, you have to figure out how to do your blocks, how to get around certain things. You have to learn how to maneuver. But when you are a seasoned professional, certain things that come up, you kind of go, okay, I know what this is going to be like. You've seen this before. It's not new. Nothing's new now. It's just you're in a different space, so you have to learn how they do their scheme. I tell all my interns when I work with them or some of my mentees that I'm not going to teach you how to do stuff. I'm just going to teach you the scheme in which to get it done and how to get it done more efficiently. And I want to make what I'm basically there to do now is bring forth, as I said, things that I feel need to be, a light needs to be shone on them. There are many great people in our community who do wonderful things, but there's so many others that they've never been on radio. They've been doing what they've been doing for 25 years, and nobody has ever said, so how do you do this? And why is this important to talk about? Because we are a follow fashion kind of society where we pick five Black people to be the face of whatever it is they do, and we continue to call on those five Black people. But as you said, Michelle, when you were writing your book and you decided, okay, I'm going to call on Jonathan. Nobody calls on me. Being honest, nobody calls on me for interviews and does stuff. There'll be parties, there'll be dances, there'll be this. They don't call on me for that.
I feel,
I'm,
I'm
I'm
actually
gonna
shocked. I'm shocked by that. I know
you want whatever.
I'm actually really shocked by that. I mean, and the reason why I say that is for me because I still feel I'm not a newbie, but I feel like a newbie. Like, do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I've been in the game for like 15 plus years, like
Okay.
writing and all this
Mhm.
stuff. So for me to hear this, because to you, for me, you are like what I aspire to, right? So you're definitely what so that's why I would find that quite shocking that no one's asking you. No one's asking
Yeah,
me.
but but
Like
but e-
so,
but even
but I'm not Jonathan Shaw, so
even when I do parties or dances, like sometimes there's three DJs there. So, for example, New Year's. New Year's just went by.
yeah.
There's a bunch of DJs on the bill. There's two rooms. I wasn't in the main room. I emceed in the main room, and then I switched over and went to the small room. And people were like, "No, you should be in the big room." Nah, no, man, I don't care where I'm at. I'm turning that place into a bus shed. That's the way I look at it. We're gonna have fun,
That's
no matter
good.
like we all don't have to always be the top dog on a baseball team. There's nine players that go up to bat, and the number one person, the first person who goes up to bat, is usually your best hitter. So if you have that analogy, if you take that sort of thing and say, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to DJ first. I'm going to be the guy who goes on at 9 o'clock. A lot of people don't want to be that warm up DJ, but that warm up DJ is incredibly important to the party because they set the tone for the rest of the night, right? So a lot of times people are like, yo, Jonathan, when are you going on? I already went on. Oh, really? You're not going to go on in prime time? No, I'm coming on now. You missed it. Sorry. But
You
that's the way
missed
it
it.
is. Or this is my role at the radio station. I am going to just write commercials. This is my role. But Jonathan, you can DJ. Well, come you're not doing a mix show? Because they don't need me to do that. The need is over here. And sometimes you got to be able to take away your ego
Mm.
and say, I'm gonna do this for the benefit of whatever I'm doing. I've done the big parties with 4,000, 5,000 people. I remember when the place was called the Docks, and there was 27,000 people outside.
Wow.
And there's all these DJs, whatever the case may be, doing the thing. And you're like saying, okay, yeah, the money's going to be sweet. And the promoter looks at you and says, here's your little money, you know? But then you could do another event where you're playing for 50, 60 people, you get paid, and then the person's like, oh my gosh, that was great. And here is a tip for $500.
Wow. That's what I mean. I noticed that stuff too, right? You just, like you said, I like the fact you said you have to strip yourself of ego. Like
Mhm.
you just kind of sometimes have to do and just do the things that you love. I mean, and things will show up with yeah, the things will come back to you. So you said things have changed with radio or being actually, yeah, I think how have things changed over time in radio?
People don't listen to it the way they used to anymore, and that's number one. That's why a lot of radio stations are dying. I was at a radio station. I was at a indigenous radio station. I was at Element FM, and I
Mm.
was I was doing Toronto and Ottawa as a creative director for both of them. And it got to be a point where even though the station was not for profit, it was serving the indigenous community. We're doing a whole bunch of different things. I am not an indigenous person, by the way, but I really enjoyed my time there. But it just like with anything else, stations change format. Stations change over a
Mm.
while. So you can have a radio station that is playing country today and jazz music tomorrow. Like I remember my time on Wave 94.7. That is where I will say that I got to do the things that I got to see radio the way radio is supposed to be in another market. And drove up to Hamilton as a sales rep and was not on radio and saw it from that lens and learnt how to do different things, formats, why we do this, why we don't do that, different microphones, different ways of doing things, going over and then working at and being totally out of radio and then just voicing commercials and seeing how that is done and the different aspects of how to use your voice and how things are done in that arena. And then again, coming full circle back to flow, radio has changed in this way. Number one, the pandemic changed everything. One of the things that I always wanted to be able to do in life was to be able to not have to leave my house. One of the things I hated, especially when I had to go down to chorus, was either walking to the bus stop, taking the bus to the GO train station, having my knees onto the other side, like being crammed up in the GO train, getting out of there, walking down Queens Quay with the wind blowing from the water from Lake Ontario, going down to the chorus building, then going to the radio station. I hated that part of it. I hated everything. Or I would drive all the way down and have to pay 15, $20 for parking and go upstairs. I love the studio. I love broadcasting. I loved everything about the stuff. I love being around people, loved working with everything, but I just hated the commute. I hated it. So when the pandemic happened, I was on air and I started helping out the morning crew. And then I ended up replacing the morning crew on Element. And the pandemic happened and we started broadcasting from our houses. So they made a studio basically in my bedroom. I had double monitors. I had a computer and all the buttons that would fire what a board would look like were now all virtual on my screen. And I could broadcast like I'm in a studio at the station, but I'm here isolated at home. We did a mix show where I never met my co-host for the mix show until 2 years after the pandemic at another radio station. We
That's
never met.
insane.
We never met. I was hosting it. He was mixing it. He back timed it. We did it. We made it sound like we were doing the show live. Like, hey, in 3, 2, 1, boom, song come in. And we back timed it, sounded live. He sent me the tape. I recorded it, put it out, sent it back to him.
Wow.
A
Wow.
lot of stuff on radio now is taped.
Yeah. Oh,
90% of it is taped. Guys are at home. They send in their mixes. They send in everything. And what you're hearing that sounds live is not.
wow. Like
A
even
lot
when
of people, like literally radio station, like we used to, I remember back when I was at Flow sometimes, guys would come in for the show and they'd leave. But now radio stations are ghost towns. They're ghost towns. There's nobody there.
you're kidding me. Oh my
Yeah, the
gosh.
pandemic made it easy. Like, everybody, 90% of us guys had
Mhm.
our studios way before. Like we went into the radio station because we had to. because they
Mm.
wouldn't let us do what we do from home.
Yeah.
So when the pandemic happened, we're like, okay, we don't have to go in no more. Okay, we'll stay home. Like, Chorus went from a place of 7,000 people working there to like nobody. I remember one time somebody sent a package down there and I had to go down there. And I was like, oh, they built another building down here. Okay, the parking's gone. Like it was a ghost town.
So how do you feel about that? I know you said you're doing like the commute and all, but how does that feel to be in a radio station there's not many people around?
It's different, but for a lot of creatives, we have a thing called Zoom. We don't necessarily need to see you. We don't need to be around you. We have the technology. Why not use it?
I love the way you said that. We don't need to be around you. Well,
You know,
I
like
understand. I understand.
it sounds funny, but the technology is there. As long as I have a clean mic,
Yeah.
we can do this. Think about what we're doing right now. I voiced most of my commercials basically just over here in the other room.
Wow.
And the person who's producing the commercial, the creative director, the person who would do my job, is telling me what to do, and he's at home chilling off his couch saying, okay, I need you to read it this way. The only person who's there is the producer and whoever else from whatever agency is going to be there because that's where they work. Some people like going into work. Most people don't. I've had 14 people watching me read a commercial or doing what I'm doing on a Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like when I do the talk show, most people are on the phone. Back in the day, it was not a thing that people you wanted a person to be in the studio. Now we'll either take a Zoom link, we'll take somebody off the phone. Sometimes they record interviews and pop them in. It's changed. It's changed, and the whole aspect of live radio, people want to hear the podcast of that radio. They want to hear that top thing. They want to be able to download. The factor is that that person who comes on at a time when I'm at church, I can now have access to that thing. And radio is no longer just radio. Sometimes it's radio, it's the audio and the visual. And they take it and they chop it down into the little 15-minute increments, 15-second increments. They put a commercial beside it. That's another revenue for the station as well too. Sound bites are the way it is now.
Oh, wow. So I guess technology really has played a huge
Yeah,
part in radio
you
then.
can take this interview that we're doing,
Hmm.
and if there's a sound bite in it, you can put that 15-second sound bite out, 15-second sound bite, and put a commercial to it, monetize it, and now you have your podcast. You can chop it up any way you want to. And because people's attention span is like a guppy right now, you know, they don't want a 2 hour interview. They want 15 second.
Yeah.
And if they want to listen to the whole thing, then they go and listen to the whole thing on another platform.
Yeah.
And then you can
Yeah.
monetize that as well too. So, you know, and then people sponsor everything now. The one thing I want to include, probably, you know, and I'll say this as best as possible, is continue to do what you're doing. If you have aspirations for radio, like I always did, is don't be afraid to call the people who are in the spots that you want to ask and try to pick their brain the same way you're doing. You know, just get that out there. One of the things that I'll say is this is I've been doing what I've been doing for a minute, but I always have to reinvent myself because spaces change, people change, whatever. And don't think that because you did something 5 years ago that the world cares that you did it 5 years ago. You always have to do something different. But with the show that I'm doing now, it's Sundays 10 to noon on Flow 98.7. You can get to me at juice at flow987.com. And that's it.
Okay, good. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for again for blessing us with your presence on the podcast. So thank you so much.
No problem.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of Words with Michelle, the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other app that you use to listen to your podcast. Thanks for listening. Bye.